Hello, ladies and gentlemen, brother and sister, listen to me carefully today. I stand before you with a message that echoes through the very fabric of our lives, through every moment of despair, joy, doubt, and hope. It is a simple message, yet one so profound and powerful that it changes everything. It is a message of trust, a message of assurance, and a message of love that comes from the very heart of God Himself. We are often caught in the storms of life, uncertainty, pain, confusion, and sometimes a sense of abandonment. We all experience moments where we feel lost, as if no one understands, as if our cries are unheard. But in the silence of those moments, when the world feels so cold and distant, God is at work. He is never distant. He has not forgotten us. The beauty of our faith lies in the fact that even when we do not see His hand at work, we can trust that He is there, working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for our good. Think about it. When we face trials, when we encounter struggles, it is so easy to feel isolated, to think that maybe we have been forsaken. The weight of the world becomes too heavy to bear, and we are left wondering, why me? But I want to remind you today that God is never distant and He is never idle. He is always at work in our lives, even when it seems like everything around us is falling apart. In Romans 8:28, it is written, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Romans 8:28 Niv. This verse is a reminder of the divine plan that is constantly unfolding in our lives, a plan that we may not always understand, but one that is always for our good. Even when the road is rough, when the path is unclear, we can rest assured that God is working behind the scenes, guiding us toward a future filled with His grace and mercy. Trusting that God is working, even in the most difficult moments, is an act of faith that leads us to a deeper relationship with Him. It is so easy to forget that God works in His time, not ours. We live in a world of instant gratification, where we expect everything now, answers, solutions, relief. But God's timeline is different. His timing is perfect, even if it does not align with our own desires or expectations. In those moments when we feel like time is slipping away, when we feel like we've waited long enough and we're growing weary, God is working. He is preparing us for what is to come, molding us into the people we need to be in order to receive His blessings. There are countless stories in Scripture of individuals who had to wait, who had to trust in God's timing. Think of Abraham, who waited for years for the promise of a son. God's promise seemed impossible at the time, but Abraham trusted. And in God's perfect time, Isaac was born. The same is true for us. God has a promise for each of us, but it is often in His time, not ours. Trusting in His timing means surrendering our own plans, our own understanding, and saying, God, I trust that you are working, even when I don't see it. The reality is that even in our most painful moments, God is close. Even when we cannot feel His presence, He is with us, working in ways that we may never fully comprehend. God does not abandon His children. He does not forget the promises He has made. His love is constant, His faithfulness unshakable. Even in the darkest valleys, His light shines, though sometimes it may seem dim from where we stand. The key to trusting in God's work in our lives is faith. Faith is not simply the belief that God exists. Faith is the confidence that He is actively at work in our lives, even when we cannot see it. Faith is the quiet assurance that He is moving in ways that are beyond our understanding. Faith is not a passive waiting. It is a courageous expectation that God will fulfill His promises even when we cannot see how. And sometimes faith means continuing to walk even when the road ahead is unclear. One of the most beautiful aspects of our faith is that we can trust that God's love for us is unwavering. In the midst of everything, in the quiet moments when we are most vulnerable, God is holding us. We are not forgotten. He sees every tear, every struggle, every cry. In Psalm 56:8, it is written, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Psalm 56:8, NLT. God knows our pain. He sees us in our suffering, and He is not indifferent to our hearts. There is no greater comfort than knowing that we are not alone in our pain. When we feel as if we have been abandoned, when the darkness feels overwhelming, we can remember that God has not forgotten us. He is there, working in the quiet and the unseen, preparing us for something greater. Even when our prayers feel unanswered, God is still at work. Even when it seems like nothing is changing, He is still moving, shaping, and transforming. There are moments when we may ask, "Why is this happening?" Or "How long will I have to endure this trial?" These are natural human questions, but the answer is simple, even if it is not always easy to accept. God is working. He is using this moment to refine us, to strengthen us, to draw us closer to His heart. Trusting in His work means recognizing that even in the hardest times, He is shaping us into the person He has created us to be. Sometimes it is in the struggle that we experience the deepest growth. You may be feeling discouraged today. You may be wondering if God has forgotten you, but I promise you He has not. His love for you is steadfast, and His promises are sure. Trust that He is working in your life, even when you cannot see it. Trust that He is weaving together every detail of your story, and that it is leading you towards something beautiful. There is purpose in every season of life, and even in the waiting, God is doing something profound within you. God has not forgotten you, and He will never forget you. Trust in His love. Trust in His work. Trust that even in the darkest moments, He is there, working all things together for your good. Let your heart rest in the truth that He sees you, He loves you, and He is at work on your behalf. As we continue our journey of faith, let us hold on to the promise that God is working, that He has not forgotten us, and that He is always, always with us. May we walk with trust, with faith, and with the unshakable confidence that God is working in our lives for His glory and our good. Let us trust Him, for He is faithful, and He will never let us go. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28, Niv. As we journey through the seasons of our lives, there will be times when the weight of life's challenges feels unbearable. We all experience seasons of loneliness, doubt, and weariness, when it seems like our prayers fall on deaf ears. We might even wonder if God has forgotten us, or if He's abandoned us in our darkest hours. But I ask you to look deeper, for it is often in the moments of silence that God is working the most. You see, God's work is not always loud and visible. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments when we feel most vulnerable. It's in the unseen moments that He shapes us, refines us, and prepares us for something greater than we can imagine. God is at work even in our pain. He is present even when we cannot sense His presence. There is a quiet assurance that his hands are always at work, mending broken hearts and making way for healing. In the Gospel of Matthew, we are reminded that God is with us in our struggles. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 Niv, what a beautiful promise. When we feel overwhelmed by life's burdens, we are not called to carry them alone. God invites us to bring our pain, our struggles, and our weariness to Him. He offers rest, not just in the form of physical relief, but in the deep peace that comes from knowing that He is in control. It's the peace that transcends understanding. In those moments when it feels like everything is falling apart, it is essential to remember that God sees the bigger picture. His perspective is infinite, while ours is limited. He knows the end from the beginning. He understands what we cannot, and He is orchestrating everything in our lives for our good. There is nothing that escapes His attention, no moment too small for Him to care about. He is the God who cares for the sparrow, and how much more does He care for you and me? The story of Joseph in the Old Testament is a powerful reminder of how God works behind the scenes. Joseph's life was filled with betrayal, imprisonment, and suffering, yet through all of that, God was at work. Joseph could not see it at the time, but God was orchestrating every event in his life to bring about something greater. And in the end, Joseph was able to look back and see God's hand in everything. He could say to his brothers, who had once sold him into slavery, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20 Niv. Joseph's story is a reminder that God's plan is always greater than our understanding. Even when we don't see the immediate results or the reasons for our suffering, we can trust that God is using every experience to shape us and lead us to a greater purpose. Just as Joseph's suffering was part of God's plan for the salvation of many, our struggles are part of God's plan for our growth, our character, and His glory. Trusting that God is working means acknowledging that He sees a purpose in everything, even when we can't see it ourselves. Another beautiful story in the Bible that illustrates God's faithfulness is that of Ruth. Ruth was a widow living in a foreign land, and it seemed that life had dealt her an unfair hand. Yet in her grief, Ruth made a choice to trust in God, to cling to His people and His promises. Little did she know that her faithfulness would lead her to a new beginning, new family, a new purpose, and a role in the lineage of King David. Ruth's story is a reminder that even when life seems hopeless, God is working. He is leading us toward unexpected blessings, even when we cannot see them in the moment. In our own lives, we too may face moments of uncertainty, loss, and pain. But in those moments, we can take heart knowing that God is with us. We can trust that He has not forgotten us. We can be confident that He is working behind the scenes, even when all we see is darkness. Trusting God is not always easy. It requires us to surrender our need for control, our desire for answers, and our fear of the unknown. But in doing so, we open ourselves to the deep peace that comes from knowing that we are in His hands. Sometimes we may not understand the pain we are going through, and we may never fully comprehend the reasons behind it. But we must hold on to the truth that God's love is constant, His promises are sure, and His faithfulness never wavers. His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Isaiah 55:9. Even in the midst of our deepest pain, we can trust that He is working for our good. I know that many of you are walking through difficult seasons right now. Maybe you're facing health issues, financial struggles, or personal pain that feels unbearable. It's in these times that it is most difficult to believe that God is working, but I encourage you to hold on to His promises. Know that He is not absent in your pain. He is right there with you, carrying you, holding you in His arms. He has not forgotten you, and He never will. God has a plan for you, and He is working it out, even when it seems like nothing is changing. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep walking forward in faith. You may not see the fruit of your trust right away, but rest assured, God is working in your life, and in His perfect time, you will see the beauty He is creating out of your trials. Trust in Him, for He is good, and He will never leave you nor forsake you. His love will never fail. God is working, dear brothers and sisters. He is working in your life. He is working in your heart, and He is bringing you through every trial, every struggle, and every uncertainty to a place of peace, restoration, and joy. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. Trust in the One who is faithful, and know that He is working for your good, even when you cannot see it. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to remember this one unshakable truth: God has not forgotten you. In the midst of every storm, every struggle, every moment of doubt, He is at work. His love for you is unyielding, and His promises are sure. Even when the path seems unclear, when the road ahead appears dark, trust that He is walking with you, working behind the scenes, preparing you for what lies ahead. The beauty of faith is not in understanding every step of the journey, but in trusting the One who knows the end from the beginning. Just as God worked through the lives of Joseph, Ruth, and countless others, He is working in your life today. Even in the most difficult moments, His hand is shaping, refining, and leading you towards something greater than you can imagine. So, let your hearts be filled with peace, let your minds be free of fear, and let your spirits be anchored in the unshakable trust that God is with you. You are never alone, and you are never forgotten. In every season, God is working for your good, and His love will never fail you. Stand firm in His promises and walk forward with faith, knowing that He is always at work in your life, even when you can't see it. Trust in His timing, trust in His plan, and trust in His love. God is faithful, and He will never abandon you. And no matter where you are on your journey, He is right beside you, working every moment for your good. Never forget, God is working, and He has not forgotten you. Thanks for watching.